My name is Dr. Terri Curran. Everybody in my school calls me Dr. T. So just whatever, if you need my attention to ask a question, just yell or ask out for Dr. T. What I want to do today is not talk about anything technical. Nothing technical. No hacking, no red team, blue team, purple team, nothing technical. I want to talk to you about jobs. I want to talk to you about where the industry is heading. I want to talk to you about where you may want to look for that dream job. That's what we prepare students for at Kaiser, the dream job that they're capable of attaining or that they're interested in attaining. But many times people don't understand the many dimensions of cybersecurity as it exists today. So that's mostly what we're going to talk about today with you for a little bit, okay? So everybody likes an agenda. I will try to stay on my agenda. I'll just mention a little bit about me and why I think that I have some insight on this particular topic. I'm going to talk very, very briefly about the cyber program at Kaiser. I mentioned it a few moments ago, but just again to give you some context about how we're preparing for you all potentially to be entering the cyber workforce. We're going to talk about the trends in hiring, and I'm going to show you a tool that many of you may not have seen before, and if you've ever wondered where the jobs are, we're going to show you. We're also going to talk about a new buzzword that some of you may not know about. It's the NIST CSF. And if you don't know what that is, by the time you leave here today, you'll see why it's important that you do know what the NIST CSF is. Then we'll talk about a free certification while it lasts. And then you have time for questions and answers. Okay? So a little bit about me. I've been at this for many, many, many decades, right? When I started, literally, the computer rooms looked like this. As you see, there's no monitors, no networks, no nothing. Literally, that's the environment that I was in, right? And usually I was the only chick in the room that looked like that, all right? Now, the power of that entire computer room is sitting right here, right on my wrist. So, where that building once stood, that was only a 2-story building in Boston at the time. Where that building stood has been torn down, and this is now the College of Computing at Boston University. That was the original, or the prototype of the original computing center in Boston University. It just is, I like that particular set of 2 pictures because it shows how far we've come in the space of a short period of time, if you think of it in years, right? So when I started, the way I got started was I was working near Boston University, and the fellow that was in charge of the computer room at the time, I was actually waitressing, to be honest with you, and he said, "Hey, listen, you want a job?" I said, "Sure." I was hungry. I needed money. He said, "Come on over." He said, "Put you to work in my computer room." I said, "Yeah, I'm in." I said, "Do you have benefits?" "Yes, we do." "Can I go to school?" "Yes, you can." So I went in and I looked and I saw that. And he said, "Are you interested?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "What is that?" He said, "Oh, that's a computer." I didn't know. I had never seen one. It was 1974. So that tells you how old I am. I've been at this a long time, all right? So back then, it was only physical security. There was no networks, right? But we had a lock on the computer room door. Then over time, computer security. So it went from physical security to computer security to data security. Now we're in cybersecurity. So in the space of 40 years, this industry has really come from nothing to everything. The internet of everything, right? So I feel that I can talk to you about hiring and hiring trends because I've grown up with this stuff. And literally, I have been in the CISO role at some of the world's most well-known companies. The CISO means a Chief Information Security Officer. So Fortune 200 companies, I've done a lot of consulting work in my time. I have security clearances from multiple governments. And so I have been in charge of hiring for many, many decades. Sometimes I had teams of up to 300 people globally. So I have a different perspective, and that's really the perspective that I want to share with you today. I only came to academia late in life. I got my doctorate from Nova Southeastern University because I wanted to teach. And my topic for my dissertation was cyber standardization. Some of my students are here today and they'll say that they always hear me talk about one version of the truth, and that's what my doctoral studies were about. There are too many laws, too many standards, too many acronyms. How do we normalize that? So that gives you a little bit of idea about me. Very boring, but just wanted to give you some context. I came to Kaiser with the promise that I would reboot their program, which was it was an effective program, but like performance review, nobody ever wants to see just effective on their performance review, but it was effective, it was doing its thing. But what we're really doing, as I spoke about earlier, is I rebooted the program. So we are a Department of Homeland Security academic partner now, which means we work very closely with CISA, the Cybersecurity and Information Security Agency. We spend a lot of time up in Tallahassee. In fact, our students here in Fort Myers actually helped write the cybersecurity law that is now the state of Florida state law, based on one of the standards that I'm going to show you later. We are in the application pipeline for the Department of Homeland Security Center of Excellence. The most prestigious universities in the United States hold that designation, and we are in the pipeline and going through the application process for that. My cybersecurity strategy, much like a business, we have a strategy, and that strategy runs through 2030. So it's not a short sprint, it's a long run, but the good programs take years to build. So we are partnered with all of the acronym professional certification agencies, so CompTIA, ISACA, ISC Squared, all of them. And all of our courses are mapped to those professional certifications. I don't use textbooks. I use exam guides, preparing people to get those certifications that are going to help them get that dream job, right? So we map to the industry certifications, and I'm the university department chair. What I do is I maintain and improve the program at all of our 25 campuses. Those are across the state of Florida, and we also have, I believe now, 11 international locations. So I not only get to deal with cyber laws of the United States, I have to figure out how to teach cyber law in many other countries as well, and I love that, right? And it's very different in every country, wherever you go. So that's just a little bit about the program that we have. So many students and many non-students, I talk to a lot of people, they understand that there's a cybersecurity workforce gap. At one time here in the United States, we had well over 1 million open jobs that we just couldn't fill. That number has been dropping bit by bit by bit, right? But people want to stay near their homes. They don't necessarily want to relocate for a dream job. Or maybe they do. They don't even know where the dream jobs are, never mind what they are. So I was lucky enough to help participate in the beginning stages of a tool called Cyberseek. Has anybody ever seen Cyberseek? You have? No? You like it? It's pretty cool. Very cool. And I think, I didn't have much luck getting internet access, but I'll at least give you the idea of what this is. So cyberseek.org. Now what this is, it's a tool that was built, and the name of the company that now owns it escapes me, but I can get that to you. But what they do is they do real-time AI-based searches of every job posting in the United States. Every job posting. This thing's running 24/7, just data farming, just absolutely data farming. And it breaks down those jobs by geographic location. Cyberseek provides a heat map such that for every town, metro area, neighborhood in Florida, I can tell you exactly what jobs are open, who's looking for them, what skill set you need. Is it entry level? Is it mid-level? Is it Python? Is it policy writing? Cyberseek will tell you all of that. For me, this is amazing because, as I shared with you, we have multiple campuses across the state of Florida, right? So my hiring demographics are going to be different in Orlando than they are down here in Fort Myers. Orlando, hospitality, all the different industries that we have in the entertainment capital of the world, arguably, right? Different hiring needs, different demographics. We get to teach them different cyber laws, rules, and principles in Orlando than we do down here in Fort Myers, where we have insurance companies and medical facilities. We're big in allied health. I used to work for Royal Caribbean over in Port Miami. Over there, we worry about maritime security, right? World's biggest cruise ship port. So every metro area has diverse cybersecurity risk and has diverse cybersecurity hiring requirements. Make sense? Now I have a vision to show me what I need to be teaching and where the jobs are. We also have advisory boards at all of our campuses, and that's important because the industry is telling us and helping really normalize this. So we're teaching the students what's right for their neighborhood so that they can stay in the community, so they can be of service to the community. Right? I'll just hang tight and see if there's any questions. Anybody ever seen it? No, you're the only one that really has seen this. I'm not surprised, because I share this with a lot of people, and it's as my students will tell you, it's a brain explosion. If I can get internet connectivity, which I didn't have a little while ago, I will jump on, or we can show you in my office over on the side there. So one of the things that we see from a hiring perspective, and Cyberseek substantiates that, is that, and it kind of, in a way, it kind of keeps promoting the stereotyping of cyber people. People all think that we are hackers and geeks and mathematicians and all that. And that couldn't be farther from the truth. Absolutely, we're doing that here today, and it's cool. And we have to have these types of activities and functions, right? But cyber is so much more than it was a decade or 2 or 4 decades ago. What we see now, it's not just coding. We have to break down that stereotype. We're placing people in cyber jobs in psychology. We're teaching our students about cyber psychology. Why do hackers hack? Why are there white hat, black hat, gray hat? What are the ethics of cybersecurity? How do you know what laws are applicable? How do you know what behaviors are applicable in the workplace for a given domain or a job or an organization, right? These are the questions that we have to understand and examine. So we have cyber psychology becoming an amazing field right now. We have cyber linguistics. Remember that my dissertation was about standardizing cyber, okay? So is the cyber language the same in Asia-Pac as it is in France? Are we speaking the same language globally from a cyber perspective? Is the risk the same in one country or different than another, or is it all the same kind of risk? These are the questions that need answers. These are the people that have to go find these jobs and answer these questions. Right? Security awareness. One of the biggest security awareness companies in the world is right up the road, KnowBe4. Anybody heard of KnowBe4? Before? KnowBe4. And it's KNOWB4, right? Actually, one of the head founders of that particular organization was a guy that became kind of famous. His name was Kevin Mitnick. And if you don't know who that is, I would invite you to go Google him at some point, and you can understand the life of Kevin Mitnick. Alex is here. He studied about Kevin Mitnick in our classes and had never heard of him, and then you get horrified, pretty much. So who better than a former hacker, reformed hacker, now he sadly passed away, but who better than a reformed hacker than to teach security awareness, right? That is like insane. So security awareness is one of the biggest industries in IT/cyber business right now because of the need, because of phishing, because of ransomware, because of all the laws, the rules, the regulations, because of behaviors. How do you stop phishing? How do you we heard from the speaker this morning, how do you keep kids safe online? That's a cross between behavioral, but awareness, training, right? Huge billion-dollar industry right now that doesn't have enough people to fill the jobs, right? Accounting. This caught me by surprise. Now, I told you that I've been at this a long time. This caught me by surprise. So, every university, and FSW has it too, they have an accounting department, and they have an accounting chair, people like me that run accounting. So I got a phone call from my peer in accounting over all the campuses. She said, I need your help, I need cyber help. I said, okay, look, I said, I can't fix your computer because I'm wired to feel like they're asking me for tech help, right? She says, no. She says, I need help. So, how many of you have heard of the CPA exam? Certified Professional Accountant exam, right? They have just rewritten, now that's the highest that you can do in accounting, right? Gold bar, right? You can't, nothing higher, right? They just rewrote the CPA exam with a whole section on cybersecurity auditing.
Cybersecurity what?
Auditing for the CPAs. So the CPAs now have to know security content in order to pass that exam. She explained that to me, then she sent me the content. She said, I don't know how to do this. I said, well, I think that's another problem we're going to have to solve, isn't it? Right? So now we have to teach a whole other industry about cyber because they're being measured by it, right? So if you're an accountant, you want to change jobs, you're bored, you want to try something new, boy, I'd say cyber because you can go in and make a fortune, right? Going in and auditing systems and getting that new CPA, right? Cyber is everywhere. And the sooner we unwire ourselves to be thinking outside the box and be thinking more about, and I'm not saying that this is not where you should be thinking. You gotta know how to break and build, right? You have to know how it works before you can assess it and protect it. We get it. But there's a world of opportunity out there that you probably never thought of. Make sense? Okay. Policy. One of the first course changes I made was this idea about policy, cybersecurity policy. So when you think of policy, everybody kind of goes, ugh. Acceptable use policy, password policy, right? That's what everybody thinks of. That's only a little teeny part of the puzzle. Policy, if you think about the government, right? The United States has foreign policy, right? The way we conduct ourselves with other countries, our operations, right? That's at a very high level. Policy is direction. Policy is setting the tone, right? That's the same thing we have to do with cyber policy. We have to not think of it about the acceptable use policies, although those are important. Those are action policies. But what's the policy of a country? What's the policy of an organization? What is their intention to help secure data? How do you craft cyber policy for a company? There's a term that we use called security by design, where you inculcate, where you embed, you bake in security at every function in a job in an organization, right? Well, how do you do that? That's all based on policy, but not the hard copy paper policy. That's the policy of the organization, you see? So you have state policies, federal policies, unilateral policies, like European Union. Those are policies. We need policy writers, people that understand how things work, to make sure that security is applied equally across many, many, many different areas. Thinking about it a little bit differently maybe now? Yeah? Good. Another way that we need to be teaching students and placing students and getting you all jobs is in different areas that we've never thought of. All right. So, pop quiz. How many know what a critical infrastructure is in the United States?
How many are there?
Well, that's going to be the second question. But okay, let's go there. Critical infrastructures in the United States. How many are there?
16.
Even in my classes.
I work in industry.
Okay, 16. That's right. 16 cybersecurity. I spend years teaching these guys this, right? There are 16 critical infrastructures in the United States, right? Anything ranging, and you can help me out here, we've got maritime, we've got military, defense, pharmaceutical. Critical really means critical, right?
Utilities.
Utilities, yeah, what else? Who can think of another one? Financial.
Healthcare, education,
Healthcare.
education, agriculture.
All of these have different cybersecurity policy needs, different hiring needs, different behavioral needs. All wraps around. There's no coding in anything that I just said there, right? And again, I am not debasing anything that we're doing here today. It's just showing you a different aspect of the cyber world. All right? So, don't answer this. We have 16 critical infrastructure. What is probably going to be the next critical infrastructure that the United States declares the CI?
Space?
Cyberspace. All right, now don't answer this because you probably know the answer. Here's one that will drive you nuts. Who owns data on the moon?
Say it again.
Who owns data on the moon?
NASA. NASA.
NASA? Good answer, but incorrect.
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk, pretty close. Elon Musk, right? Okay, pretty close. The answer is nobody, because there are no laws in cyberspace yet. They're coming. There's no cyberspace policy. Notice how I keep coming back to that? There's no cyberspace policy. There really is. There was a commission called the Solarium Commission some number of years ago who started laying out cyberspace policy and the need for unified cyberspace policy. But right now, the way that I like to explain it is, if you think about maritime in the old days, when there were no maritime laws, so then we had pirates that started pillaging and plundering everywhere on the oceans because there were no laws, so there had to be laws. Very similar and analogous to what's going on in space. We have no guardrails, we have no boundaries as such. So yes, you're right, cyberspace, and there's a big push globally to declare cyberspace as that 17th critical infrastructure. And I, for one, am super excited about it. And then we will understand, and then we will know who owns the data, but also who owns the risk. Who owns the risk? How are we protecting those extraterrestrial data centers? Who knows? There might be a Google Cloud data center on the moon soon. We don't know that. We have them underwater now. Why wouldn't it be on the moon? What are the prevailing laws and boundaries? So these are all the kinds of things that worry me. These are all the kinds of things that excite me. These are all the kind of things that still keep me doing this after all these decades. Because these are problems that still need to be solved, right? So I'm going to stop for a question, see if you have any questions for a moment. Any thoughts? And that was very good, by the way. Nobody ever answers that question right. Good job. Okay, I talk very fast, I apologize. So I would invite you to take a look at Cyberseek. It's free, no subscription, all anonymous. It is the coolest thing. If you think you want to move to New York City, go look at New York City, see what the jobs are. I can go look and see what's hot back in my hometown of Boston. I can look and see what's hot here. I can see what's going on in Orlando. Cyberseek is also mapped to prevailing federal standards so that we know what the KSAs, the knowledge, skills, and attributes are for a given role. So you've got complete line of sight as to what skills and attributes are needed in a geographic location. It's really an amazing tool. So, we know a lot more now than we did several years ago. I mentioned several times that my PhD is in standardization, right? I like one version of the truth. I don't like multiple things all over the place. So I like standards. And the United States federal government, NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, has come out with the latest version of one of the most important cybersecurity guidelines and frameworks that has ever been announced. How many of you have heard of the cybersecurity framework? Couple? Okay, quite a few. Good. I'm surprised. That actually, I'm happy to see that more than one of you raised your hand, because a lot of people just really have no idea that this thing exists. Version 2.0 just got lit up. Version 2.0 is a massive change from the original NIST cybersecurity framework. This new version of the cybersecurity framework will inform every cyber job that's coming up in the near future, guaranteed. Because it is standardized and it lays out in excruciating detail what you need to do to protect a company, a country, an organization, cyberspace, in very clear layman's terms. This can be used by massive organizations. It can be used by small to medium businesses because it's scalable. What they've done, and our students studied these changes in excruciating detail, and they have commented that the new version of the CSF, which I'm going to show you in a minute or two, is much easier to understand now. It's more logically laid out, and it's a real roadmap to establishing policy for a country, a company, organization, whatever it is that you're trying to manage the cyber risk for, right? So if you've seen it before, that's an old version, so you need to be thinking about a huge change that I'm going to show you right now. How am I doing, timekeeper? How much? I'm right on time. All right. So, this is a bit of an eye chart for you, perhaps. This is the new cybersecurity framework. If you're familiar with the old version, it consisted of identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. 5. Right? Those have been around since 2014, so it's 10 years since the original iteration of this. Last month, they came out with version 2. They took and examined all of this, and this was a massive undertaking. They took all of this, pulled out a ton of content. So for example, identify, if your organization has been using this as a framework, identify used to be like 8 or 9 different controls. You're now down to 3. Anything that appears or appeared to be related to the governance of an organization has been added as the first leading function of the cybersecurity framework. So this is important for a couple of reasons. First, this is generating more jobs because companies now need to figure out how to reconfigure their policies, their standards, their approach to securing data, right? So, and I'll give you a very practical spin and take on this. So my courses in my program that I rebooted, I modeled them after the original 5. So I've got a course for protect, a course for identify, a course for respond. Now, what I have to do is go back in and redo all those courses because I have to put more content now in a new topic for govern and then strip these all out. So that's a practical explanation of how impactful this thing can be when they make these kinds of wholesale changes. Each of these are also mapped to very specific KSAs, knowledge, skills, and attributes. So, when recruiters are writing job descriptions or HR departments are writing job descriptions, they are more increasingly coming to this document to understand what it means, what it looks like, what's the rule, what's the law. It's important to know, too, for those of you that are conducting business here in the state of Florida or want to continue being here in Florida, in 2022, the state of Florida adopted the cybersecurity framework as the framework for their cybersecurity law. And we know this because we helped write it in Fort Myers, right up the street. Right? So even the state government of Florida is now taking another hard look at this and what they need to do at a statewide level to try to be in compliance with this framework. These mean new jobs, okay, especially up in that governance domain, right? Here is where we start talking about some of the categories that I mentioned earlier, okay? Nothing technical up here, right? Third-party risk management, supply chain management. Is that policy word again, okay? So there's nothing, again, technical up here. Here down in detect and respond, this is where our red teams, blue teams, response teams are all piping in here, right? But as you can see, there's so much more to cyber than just Python or 3D printing, and again, not belittling any of that, it's a big part of all of the big picture. But this is the world that we live in right now. This is where the jobs are. This is what we're teaching our students. Now, how can beginners even put their hands around this? I want to share with you as a public service the Million Certified Throwdown Challenge. ISC Squared, which is the Information Systems Security Consortium, ISC2, for years, the equivalent of the CPA has been the CISSP. Everybody know the CISSP? Okay. The gold bar, right? I was one of the first. So, you got the gold bar, but ISC Squared never worried about entry level anything. But ISC Squared, they're smart. They're smart business people. And they know and knew and understand that they can't just focus on gold bar. They got to hit everything from top to bottom and bottom down, right? This certification got announced, what, a year ago? I think, about a year ago. About a year and a half. Right now it's still free. Doesn't cost you a dime. Anybody have it?
No, but I was in the workshop to help with the questions on it. So.
Okay. These are the domains that you need to know about. Okay? So to get this, it's free. You become a member of ISC Squared, which looks incredible on your resumes and on your LinkedIn profiles. Okay? And this is your basic stuff that you need to know to get an entry-level job in the industry. Go.
It's free to sign up, it's free to take the exam. Now, to get the actual certification, it's like $50 for the first year to be enrolled as a member of ISC. But they'll tell you once you pass the exam. So just to get the certification, there is a $50 charge. But besides that, all the materials free, everything. Don't pay for the extra stuff. Don't try to sell you, hey, buy the book, buy this extra course. Just stick with the free stuff. It's more than sufficient to pass the exam.
And we're going to show you the roadmap right here. There's 5 domains. Security principles, BCP, DRP, IR, access controls, network security, and security ops. I'm going to show you very briefly because my timekeeper is yelling at me. And you'll get copies of all these slides, I promise. What I have provided for you here is how the exam is administered, okay? 700 out of 1,000 points. You have to go to Pearson View Center, right, which is an experience in and of itself. But it tells you your weighting, and I love weights, right? Weights tell a different story altogether, right? So if these are what the security weightings are, these are what the employers are looking for, right? By inference, would you agree? Security principles and network security. So there's that balance of technical and non-technical, right? You see it? Are you going to worry too much about SecOps? Not so much, right? BCP, DR, as long as you know the definitions, you're going to be fine, as I'm told from those that have taken the exam. I'm not allowed to sit for it because I already have my CISSP.
So
But that
is
tells
it
you.
one or the other?
Which?
What you just said?
CISSP, you have to.
I'm just curious. You just said that you're not allowed to sit on it because you have a CISP?
That's correct. That's correct.
So it's either CISP or...
No. I already have the CISSP, so I'm not grandfathered into any of this. And yeah, as far as I know, no CISSPs have sat or taken it.
You can graduate up certifications. You can get the CC and then get the...
You can take as many ISC2 exams as you want.
Yeah.
So once you get the
Yep.
CISP, you can't go back down.
I can't backtrack.
Got it.
So my timekeeper is yelling at me. Basically, what I've done for you on the following slides is to show you exactly what's on that exam. The study guides are free from ISC Squared. Don't buy anything like my colleagues are telling you. Don't buy anything. Just get a study guide, do your basic reading, all the basic stuff. They give you all the sample questions. They give you all kinds of tools. They want you to get this certification. So if they're giving it basically away for nothing, and boy, employers are looking for that. They are looking for that on your resumes and on your LinkedIn. So the rest of this are the other domains. Lots of things in there for you to take a look at. There are the instructions on how to actually go and start your application. And I did it on time. All right? And now I think I have time for questions and answers. Is that right? Megan, is that correct?
Yep.
Oh, 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm told I have 5 minutes. Tick, 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 tick. What questions do you have for me? Or comments or feedback? Ideas?
From an organization that's looking to implement the new 2.0 framework, do you see that the assessments are going to be changed? And also, from a communications perspective, on communicating to the board what that's going to look like from a maturity perspective, because you're scored, if you get an assessment, you're scored on the old 1.1. So now you're going to have to communicate to your board, and now we have 6 scored we have to look at for that overall maturity versus just 5. So I think there's a lot of things from that perspective as well.
You need a good project manager.
Yeah.
You need a good project manager. Somebody that understands the push and takes of what went from one category to the other category to the other. It is not trivial. It is not trivial. And in fact, we have just literally spent the last month looking at this as an action project in one of my classes. So what I'm hearing and finding is that if you have a risk management criteria model, if you have a maturity model, a CMM, right, cybersecurity maturity model, and privacy, by the way, there's some interleaving with privacy here too.
Yep.
So what you do is you come up with an audit plan, a POAM, a plan of action, right? And you start addressing how you're going to bring on board. And you probably want to look at your governed new functions there as a separate scorecard, right? And don't roll it up right away into that balanced scorecard that you have for the other 5. Do that as a separate one, show it to your auditors side by side, and then over time you marry them. Make sense?
Yep.
Good question. Good question. Questions, thoughts, concerns?
I just want to say I'm not a technical person per se in cyber. I do know technology, but I am one of those people that I absolutely use the CSF 2.0 every day because that's what I do. I play in spreadsheets, I make PowerPoints, I do consulting. So I'm a bit of a generalist. I do architectures, frameworks, assessments, roadmaps, those kind of things, and we definitely need more people in that field. It helps to understand both too. So if you're coming from one side or the other and you're going back and forth, you really need to be able to kind of speak both of those languages, really, because it kind of is its own language, right? When you talk about governance, and it has its vocabulary, and then hacking RFIDs have their own language. So I think it's useful to know both. And if you want to ask me about like the non-technical cyber stuff, hit me up today. I have a CSSP too, so I don't know that experience. But, yeah.
Fun. It's
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, yeah, definitely worth it.
No, I really didn't mean that. The CISP exam is brutal. It is. So, I'm not trying to dissuade you, but just be prepared for what you're looking for. This beginning one, it's powerful because it's associated with the ISC squared name. It's gonna carry you quite a ways. Okay. Any other questions, thoughts, concerns?
One comment, they're only doing $1 million free. As of December, they were already $500,000. There was only $500,000 left in December, so however many slots left. Don't hesitate, at least go in there and get your stuff so you can free stuff before it's out.
If anything here interests you, befuddles you, confuses you, you can find me easily enough on LinkedIn. Connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. All right? I'm good.